Hey there.
Welcome to the Gunning Truth with Roni, and this is the Chelsea versus Arsenal preview show. A very important game for Arsenal after a magnificent win before the international break. It feels like absolute ages ago. There's so much things that's happened in football. A lot of things, obviously, behind the scenes. We don't know what Arsenal have been doing for the past couple of weeks. Quite a load of players did not go on the international break, but because of the nature of our squad, quite a few players did go on international break. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Arsenal team. So this is Arsenal's review of the internationals. This will also go out to Spotify. So my latest episode of Spotify. This will be on iTunes as well as YouTube. The Gunning Truth Chelsea versus Arsenal preview. So Ramsdale had no minutes for England, so obviously trained with Pickford, and I can't remember who the third goalkeeper is for England. So no minutes over the two games. They played Australia in a friendly, and they played Italy at Wembley in a European qualifier. They're actually qualified now, so a number of our key players will be representing England in next year's Euros. That will be in Germany. So no minutes for Ramsdale. And then Thomas Partey, for once, it seems like there's been good things that happened. The first game, he only played 45 minutes against Mexico, I think it was, and then against the United States, he played most of that game. So very important for him to get minutes, important for him to play for his national team, because they do obviously have the AFCON coming up. So it's not always about Arsenal, especially for certain individual players. There was pictures once again of Arsenal sending a physio with to Ghana to just make sure that they aren't doing some funny things with him, especially in training. So it seems like everything went well there. He got some minutes, obviously only played the second half against Man City, or part of the second half against Man City. So he's looking good. Gabriel Magalhaes becoming a mainstay for the Brazilian national team. Unfortunately, two poor results for them. A draw at home and then a comfortable defeat against Uruguay. So even though Gabriel played, he actually scored in the first game. Brazil didn't have two good games. I think Neymar as well has got a serious long-term injury. So he's getting huge money in Saudi Arabia, and he now again won't play for his Saudi Arabian club. So just shows you it doesn't always work out. But obviously Gabriel playing both games 90 minutes each. Obviously we are constantly told how huge it is for Brazilians to play for their national team. So it's amazing for us to see Gabriel playing for them, of course. Obviously it has its negative effects in terms of all the way in Brazil, with Saliba also having an issue or two with his toe. So it's a double-edged sword. You want him to be happy and playing for his national team, but also will those two full games affect his Arsenal form, especially with a big game against Chelsea and the big game against Sevilla in the week. Let's not forget, it's a double trouble, you can call it. So Stamford Bridge, and we are going to the Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium in the Champions League in a game where we need something due to the last loss. Obviously Ødegaard, captain of Norway, came off in the first game. I think the first game was a friendly, and then the second game was a very important qualifier. They lost at home to Spain. Haaland played, and so Norway in trouble because Scotland still leads that group, and then they've got Spain, so they've still got a mathematical chance of making it. But we've got David Raya for Spain. That's obviously, I think they will make it. And then obviously Scotland, Tierney, who's not currently playing, he's actually got a long-term hamstring injury again. So again injured while on loan at Real Sociedad. Gabriel Jesus started the second game for Brazil that they lost to Uruguay. So Richarlison normally starts as the 9, but this time it was Jesus in the second game. Came on for a couple of minutes in the first. So once again, the Brazilian players in the Arsenal squad, quite a few of them, they want to play for their national team. And then Eddie Nketiah, this is an interesting one. He played in a friendly for England, wasn't selected in the squad for the second game, so that's why it's 17 minutes out of 90. So he played 17 minutes against Australia. He still is eligible for Ghana. So if he's not happy about how he was used over the two international windows, he still qualifies to play for Ghana. So that's going to be something to look for, because he hasn't played a competitive game. It's been friendly. He was selected in a squad and then played the friendly 17 minutes. Kivio, another centre-back that's played 90 minutes across the two games for Poland. I think they won one and lost one. So 180 minutes. what I tried to do is I tried to check the player ratings, and his ratings was in the green, which means he had good games over the two. And then Tomiyasu, Japan, one of the form teams in world football, they won both their games comfortably. He came off in the first half. There's no information as to why in the first game, and then he played the full 90 minutes of the second game in the excellent Japan team. David Raya, another of our goalkeepers, are two top quality goalkeepers not playing a single minute for their countries, Ramsdale and David Raya. And then El Neni, also just recently back from a long-term injury. He played the first half only for Egypt in their first game, and then their big derby against Algeria. He played the full game. That's normally a huge game, Algeria versus Egypt, North African derby. And then Kai Havertz, only 28 minutes, so it seems like he's not the cup of tea of new German manager Nagelsmann. So only 28 minutes over the two games. Didn't come on at all in the second game, only played the first. And then we've got Karl Hein, very difficult one for Karl Hein. Doesn't look good whenever he plays for Arsenal, but that's because he barely plays, and then it tends to play for his national team, but then they tend to lose 4-0 and 5-0. He only played the first game, and then I think the first game was a qualifier. They got comfortably beaten. I'm not entirely, can't remember by whom, but it was a lower end a European team. And then in the second game, I think it was only a friendly, he did not play. And then Zinchenko, 163 minutes out of 180, Arsenal's only goal contributor. And when I say goal contributor, he gave an assist in the first game for Ukraine. So that was our only contribution in terms of goals well, there was no goal contributions. It was an assist to a goal across the international break. So most of our team players actually were either losing or drawing in their games that they played, so it wasn't a great results-based international window for Arsenal players. But it wasn't loads of them that played. So only Gabriel and Kivior played the entire two games. The rest of the players didn't come. One or two came close to completing most of the games, and then obviously the likes of Declan Rice only playing 90 minutes out of 180. If I make an analysis on a possible starting team for this Sunday, and that's obviously not knowing the full extent of our injury situation, I'm expecting everybody to be available in the squad for Sunday, other than Timber. Obviously, Saliba, Trossard, and Saka all have little niggles, but I think over this international window they were able to get back into the swing of things with physio, with off days, and obviously with a bit of training as well. Before I look at the starting lineup, I've also got a list of players that was either rested, not selected, or injured. So Saliba has a toe problem, but I expect him to be available. Ben White not selected for whatever reason in the English team. It sounds like it could be that he felt that he had no chance of making the squad, and then there was probably a bit of some sort of issue between him and Southgate, or Southgate and the coaching staff and Ben White. So Ben White just does not get selected because of maybe him voicing his concerns. Timber obviously out for most of the season. Cedric, he basically played for the under-23s not so long ago, a couple of days ago, so that's his only form of football at the moment. Jorginho, not selected by Italy. Vieira, who I think is now over age for the under-21s and doesn't get selected by a very strong Portuguese team. I don't know how he's going to get into that team. Smith Rowe, obviously also not under-21 anymore, and doesn't get selected for England, doesn't play for Arsenal, so he might need to think about his future in January. And then Saka, obviously injured, or was deemed injured in the just before the England international window started. Martinelli wasn't selected because of being injured and just coming back by Brazil. Trossard obviously got an injury in the Man City game, and Nelson also no longer under 21 player and not in England's plans. So in terms of Arsenal's possible team against Chelsea, in terms of how many international minutes they got, so I would think that David Raya will be in goal. He didn't play a single minute for Spain. Ben White didn't play any minutes because he wasn't selected for England, so that I expect him to be the right back. Saliba didn't have any minutes. I'm expecting him to be back. Gabriel obviously played 180 minutes over the two games, so he played full. And then I expect Zinchenko to be left back. No injury issues, hopefully there. He played 163 minutes. So out of our back five, only two players had quite a bit of minutes over the last 2 weeks or so. And then in midfield, I expect Thomas Partey, who played, how many minutes did he play? He played 109 minutes, and Declan Rice played 90 minutes, and Odegaard played 168 minutes. So they all, none of them played the full games. They had enough minutes in, and they should be good to go. So that is the midfield that I hope we will have against Chelsea. And then obviously up front, Saka and Martinelli, neither of them had any minutes in the international window, and obviously Jesus 121 minutes. So our players doesn't seem like we were overplayed in our starting lineup. Only Gabriel played both games, and then the likes of Odegaard and Zinchenko had close to playing the full games over the two. So we are really going to be fresh. I don't know what Chelsea's injury news looks like. They've got a huge squad, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. And then obviously the Chelsea-Arsenal previews. So it's very difficult again after an international break where all your players have gone to this place and that place. I know that from Chelsea's standpoint, two key players have been training. So Reece James, you get conflicting reports that they might make it, might not make it, similar to the Trossard, Saliba and Saka news, where it sounds like they will make it. They have been training, and the international window was an opportunity for them to maybe work on their fitness, whatever niggles they had. So I expect Reece James and Disasi to play. It's going to be interesting to see what's Chilwell's situation, or Cucurella that will possibly play left back. We do know that they've got long-term injuries to the likes of Fofana, and long-term injuries to the Nkunku, who plays up front. So they obviously still have a huge squad, loads of midfielders, the likes of Lavia, Caicedo, and these type of players will have a point to prove against Arsenal. Enzo Fernandez. So it's going to be a tough game on Sunday. Chelsea are starting to pick up results. Pochettino has a good record against Arsenal and Arteta. So it's going to be a very, very tough game. Arsenal have won the last 3 games there. Arsenal did the double over Chelsea last season. We've won the last 3 at Stamford Bridge with weaker teams. I think we are stronger now as a team. We're undefeated still in the league, and we've got a mammoth week coming up. Chelsea on Sunday, and on Tuesday, I think it is, we've got Sevilla away from home. It might be Wednesday, I haven't checked. I think it's Tuesday. So that's going to be a huge 2 days for Arsenal. We need to use the squad once again. Hopefully everybody is raring to go. And I'm referring to the players that didn't make their national squads. We need them. We need them to be at tip-top condition. So I think it's going to be a tough game. I think I'm going for a 2-1 win for Arsenal. We still, despite the fact that Chelsea's up and down, we still need to give them a bit of a thrashing, I feel. But I just think because of the international break, it could be a really tough game. However, we need to also realize that a load of Chelsea players, probably more Chelsea players, went on the international break with their teams. So again, I don't know much team news. I have read about half an hour ago or so that Arteta's again starting with his mind games, especially with players that knocks, the likes of Saliba, Trossard and Saka. He's just basically saying, let's see how it goes today, because I think we're only going to have a proper session today with everybody back. So the game, it's a Saturday evening kickoff, Chelsea hosting Arsenal. That will be 6:30 South African time. So it's going to be a huge game. Huge in the sense that I'm concerned because, just by the law of averages, Chelsea is still a top team. They've invested loads in their team. Somewhere along the line, they need to come right. They're at home. We've beaten them the last 3 times. So from that standpoint, I'm a little bit concerned. But when you analyze the two teams, Arsenal are better. They're undefeated in the league. And eventually that will go as well in the season. It's very difficult to be undefeated. But so from that standpoint, I'm just a little bit concerned. However, if you analyze the teams, Arsenal are better, and if they play according to their potential and the guys are fit and raring to go, there isn't any niggles, and Arsenal should win this game comfortably. But I'm going for a 2-1 win for Arsenal to continue their form, and for us to hopefully be top. I don't know who Tottenham's playing. I think they have another winnable game, so they might end up still being top with goal scored or goal difference. So it's going to be interesting to see. Man City is also playing this weekend. I think it's the Manchester Derby next week. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I'll leave it there for now. And hopefully Arsenal get the win. Arsenal ladies are also in action with Bristol. They won last week. The academy is also there. So the football is back. The international window is done. Actually, the women have an international window coming up, but the football is back, and we hope that Arsenal get the job done. Come on, you Gunners!
Cadence.